in Max Meadows, Virginia, which is the lovely home of Love's Truck Stop. I haven't been here. Oh, it's been a hot minute. I'm just trying to get the volumes turned off here. So, I was gonna try to get a video shot last week, and it was a busy week. I had 13 stops over 4 states, and pumped in about 2,400 miles. I got back Thursday. So yeah, I did some house chores and all that. It's that time of the season where now, move some stuff around here. That time of the season, yard work, outside stuff, grass is popping up, everything's blooming and growing. So, but yeah, I had to, when I got back, I had to get this dropped off the truck. It was the wire harness, and while they were in there, so, the engine brake quit working the week before last. And being I run the majority of my route through the Appalachian Mountains, West Virginia, Southern PA, down towards the state line of North Carolina. So anyhow, yeah, these guys are backing up. It's going to be entertaining. I may see if anyone's in the chat. If you guys want to stay afterwards and I can turn the camera around, it gets to be a shit show. This gets to be entertaining with these guys driving through here, trying to get to the fuel island on top of trying to park. It is like watching a circus demolition derby going on. But anyhow, didn't have the engine brake, and the engine was fluttering, pulling the hills mainly, so like it had water in the fuel. So I got it dropped off after they had looked at it over a week and a half ago and said, yeah, we're going to need to have it for a day and a half. Get inside and see if it if it was a loose connection, a solenoid for the engine brake, or a wire harness. Jesus, yeah, you guys really gotta watch some of this afterwards. These guys are really crazy. This is the Loves I brought up in a previous live stream where it just gets nuts. The way people drive through this parking lot like a race demolition derby, because these guys, I'm waiting for somebody to T-bone someone. So let me finish that. So the Cummins, I got this X15 Cummins in here, and it was fluttering and missing. The engine brake wasn't working. So the guys that know me really well and I got a good report with, they both of them worked on this engine. They pulled the valve covers. There was loose connections, tightened up the connections, put the covers back on, took it for a test drive, still did the same thing. Took the covers back off, ran a complete new injection and engine brake wire harness. So basically the whole top end of the motor on this, or engine, is all new electronics, all new wire harness, all new engine brake solenoids for the lower 3 and the upper, and then the upper 3. So because you got low, medium, and high on your engine brake. So everything is replaced new, did an overhead. New valve cover gaskets, because they had to run out and get those when they called me Friday, and then I picked it up Saturday and hooked up, and off I went today. And so that's what's been going on besides just busy at home. I have got a backup and a shit ton of auto detailing coming up, and on top of basic home chores. But also I've got some windows and siding that are to be done, 3 decks that need to be stained, and an RV, and maybe more RVs to come. So I have, right now, if we did a slowdown, this recession was a hit and we slowed down, I'd probably welcome it. I got enough stuff to keep me busy through the summer, and I don't plan on taking no vacation, no PTO time off, so leaving that for medical and or bereavement right now. So going forward, watching a few podcasts, and as we all know, and I think I reported on that last week, Arkansas did pass a bill that if you are a illegal immigrant, so you're coming in and you're issued through the country, United States, a CDL, but it's non-domicile, which you present no residence here in America, but you have a CDL. Those folks, non-proficiency in reading, writing, or speaking English, Arkansas, and I'm just recapping, Arkansas is going to give you a $500 fine the first time, then $1,000 thereafter, going forward. Oklahoma said, and I give it to, I think it's Ian or Ivan over there at Bonehead Truckers YouTube. He said, guys, Oklahoma put this on the table, and and everyone said if once Arkansas passed that law, they were waiting for the ripple effect, the contagion to hit, to spread to the other states. So therefore, Oklahoma threw it up on the table and said we should have something like that because they are the 6th highest state for truck fatalities. So Ivan said on a stream last week, he said, guys, reach out to the state, to the governor's office in Oklahoma and bombard them with phone calls. Everyone did, and it reported that now they're putting it in motion to make it a law, which will, you have to have reading, writing, and speaking of English proficiency. You cannot have a B1, B2 Mexican license, which is basically equivalent to our Class A. But the thing of it is their fines, instead of a $500 fine, a $1,000 fine, basically, if you can't pass the proficiency, they're going to impound your truck, and so you're going to be stuck with the towing bill and the impound bill in Oklahoma if you're an immigrant driving in this country, not legally to our terms. So that's going down, and that should be passed here soon. So I'm keeping track through him on that, and so that's what's going on in the world there. Amongst everything else, trucking has slowed down. They said right now there's been over a 30% drop in the ports of containers coming in, and it's just, they said the next 2 to 3 weeks we're really going to start seeing it, and that's when it's going to start taking effect, and we're going to start seeing it on our shelves in the stores. So where are we at? The last week of April. So come about probably right before Memorial, we're going to start seeing the supply chain disruption because of the tariffs and the trade war that is going on with these tariffs against China. So China is doing a workaround. They are shipping containers to other countries, and then it's passing through those countries to be shipped here. But it's taking a slow boat to get here, and or if they're getting, doxed or anything, that they know they're shipping them over here, that they're not receiving them. But they said it's going to be a supply chain disruption. They said it's going to be the pandemic all over again. What they're saying is we're not going to have a pandemic. All they're saying is our supply chain was disrupted and broken when they stopped and put a halt on all manufacturing and all shipping and receiving. As you know, like Long Beach was just backed up with hundreds and hundreds of container ships. So right now it's not going to be a backup of container ships, as it's going to be there's no container ships coming in. So right now they're already seeing like over a 30% drop in container ship receiving into the ports, and it's just going to continue to just come off a cliff in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which then things are going to dry up. So panic buying, a lot of podcasts and people are like, if you need something, if you need to get meds, front run it. Get it now. If you're dependent on medications, front run it. If you need meds for your dogs, kids, animals, farm supplies, whatever it is, get on it now, because It's really going to hit the hardest. They said September, October, we're really going to feel this. And it's going to be as worse, if not more worse, than what we saw during COVID. So with dried up shelving and that. So therefore, I wouldn't be taking any trips. I wouldn't be going out buying big ticket items, cars, play toys, electronics, furniture. I would really be holding back because things are going to tighten up. And with that tightening up and things not moving, and trucking is also seeing, with that container ship, that is also bleeding in trucking. Trucking is now seeing a 30% pullback on freight moving just this month in April, finishing up April. So the last couple weeks, it's going down like that in freight moving in the United States. So that all said, to me, let it happen. We got to feel the pain. If we're going to win this trade war, we need to. And if we're going to, we're going to have to feel pain. So, yeah, you're going to have to go without on a few things. But if you are very dependent on life-saving meds, I would get on top of it right now. And saying that, China is a country, when the Mao dynasty came in after World War II, he basically set up his country that they are on a 100-year dynasty to become a world power. China is a country that has been taught and programmed through the Communist Party there. They look at everything China first. China comes first in the citizens' eyes. China is always first. They come first. As a nation, they don't go out in the streets and burn their flags, protest or anything like that. They will be heavily disciplined and or disappeared. That's part of being under the communist regime. They encourage their citizens to invest in gold, invest in assets, tangible assets. You know, we push the big stock market Ponzi scheme with vaporware, things that are just made up and you just trade money. Crypto's one of them. You know, you got cryptocurrency and you got gold and silver. If I can touch one, hold it, I own it. The other one is just a digit on a computer screen that can go poof like that. So therefore, their people invest in, real estate. Their people invest in gold and silver, tangible, I want to say, viable assets. So their people are also programmed for the long game. They can wait this out. If they got to wait this thing out 30 years, they will. Their people will go without. Our people, Americans, they need instant gratification. When they don't get it, we've seen it since 2016. People take to the streets, they start throwing themselves on the ground, having a temper tantrum. All the rainbow colored hair people come out, and it's just everything. If they're not getting their way, if the social programs stop, because over there, they don't get those kind of social programs. We're handing out everything, EBT cards, and we'll pay your bills. The government shouldn't be doling up to pay anyone's shit in this country unless you are absolutely disabled, especially our veterans, or you're at a point. Let's say you're a senior citizen that has never had children and no one to be able to take care of you. You should be able to get some kind of governmental assistance. But just to say, I've got anxiety, so I can't work full time. I don't know who I am, and they, them, whatever. I'm sorry, but the social programs need to dry up. People need to get out there and put America first. If you want to live here and have all your freedoms, then you need to contribute. And you also need to be held accountable for all the fuck-ups you do. If you took out student loans, no, I shouldn't have to. Nobody in this country should have to pay for what you signed up for. And if you ended up getting shortchanged with some shoddy liberal arts degree that, that a person at McDonald's that can change the trash can liners makes more money than you. You wasn't a well thought out process of the degree you got in, other than it made you feel good. So discretionary spending, we are a first world country. So when people take to the streets, take to the air, complain, they're complaining about first world problems. What is that? Well, my remote won't work for the TV. Oh, my heated seats in the car don't work. I got to get a new car, or that quit working. Healthcare. Being able to get to healthcare as promptly as you can in this country as compared to other countries. And I don't know. It's just like I see people complain, and it's first world problem complaints. And I really could give two shits that. Like I said, we need to lower our standards and watch how we manage our money and not over leverage. We are at the all-time high at $1.3 trillion in consumer credit card debt right now, and people are going to continue to max out cards. What they're using it for now they're doing, instead of credit cards, when they've ran out of their limit on their credit card limits and they're maxed out, they're going to the buy now pay later programs. Those aren't so much being reported to the credit bureaus, but now they can't, and they're using buy now pay later programs to get groceries, and they can't even pay that. So when you use a company as like what is that, fast cash companies, where you can leverage your upcoming payroll check and get your money ahead of time, and then you owe them with fees. So that's what a buy now pay later is. But now the people can't even pay that, and they've been using that to buy groceries to feed themselves at home. Families with children and that. Everyone, what is happening is the citizens of America are pigeonholing themselves in a corner because they don't want to say, stop what I'm doing. We're going to have to give up these subscriptions of Netflix and TV and taking trips and maybe get rid of the car payment and doing these other things and lowering their standards so they can live within what their income is, their cash flowing into the houses. But if your cash flow is $3,000 a month, for example, and you're living at $9,000 expenditures, you need to get down well below that 3. And that's where America is at. China is not, and China can sit and play this long game, and they're going to snuff us out. So they don't care. They've got nothing to lose. Their people don't live in a standard like we do. And and they say, well, yeah, we should deserve that. No, we shouldn't. This country has overzealous itself into living at such a standard that it's unrealistic. You look on Instagram, look at some of these people, TikTok. It's just utterly ridiculous. So if my spouse, and I've said this before, if my spouse had Amazon packages stacked at the door, and the wife's like, making a hee-haw joke about it on TikTok, I would just throw her in the Amazon packages and be out on the fucking sidewalk saying, you'll be served, you're out. I'd send her packing. So I don't put up with that, and I'm not here to work and live to have material items. Minimalist, we have turned that corner. Wow, 6 years or more. We have toned down the way we've been living, and it's helped. We have money stashed in areas besides investments, besides we're taking my payroll and throwing all that just to get out of debt. We're paying debts off. She's already paid one debt, a major debt, the first quarter of this year, so I'm hoping one more will drop off. If not, Well, at the end of the second quarter, I think we'll have another wave of credit paid off. My whole thing is by 2026, by the first half of 2026, I want to have a lot of credit paid off. And so we're buried in a hole, and I got tons of equity in my house. And you can say, well, you could lose that. I live in a HOA facility that is, I want to say, more affordable housing. Now, not low income, affordable housing. I lived in low income before we moved over to the other side of the state. When I worked in healthcare, I lived in low income housing. I couldn't fucking afford it. $42,000 a year for working in healthcare and bouncing between cardiac testing, cardiac rehab, and a cath lab. And I thought, man, and RNs don't make shit either. So, me being in driving, yeah, it's been great, and I'll stick with skill trades. If I have to take another trade, if my health doesn't let me drive here, I'll take up another trade, but I will not go back into healthcare. Too much government involvement in that. But back to that, my house is affordable housing where I'm at, and it's sought after. There's a waiting list at the HOA office. And then across the street, and if I could, every live stream, get on my golf cart and drive through these neighborhoods that have developed out in the farm fields around me. All the dairy farms. I've had commercial dairy farms around me, and these housing developments, because the farmers have gotten out of it because there was no generational to pass the farms on. So they've sold it off to developers who then bring in contractors who build out these houses. And these houses are 3-story, 3-car garage, $500,000-$600,000 houses starting price. And I expect a few of them to fail, but not everyone needs that big of a house. A lot of retirees are trying to downsize out of their houses. Where I live is affordable. Our houses are like 175 and under. So I'm gonna make money, and so I'm not afraid of that. So I position myself well. Again, playing the long game, thinking ahead. That's what we just sat down doing while I've been working around the house. You know, we're looking at 10 to 30 years out. So that puts me at 68 to 88 years old of setting up our investments, our cash flowing, because even though you put money aside into investments so you can take an RMD, required minimum distribution, or you're just going to draw off whatever money you have in investments to retire on. Yeah, I'll be doing some of that in my early 70s, but besides that, I'm still going to be working and running businesses and cash flowing, so money's going to still be coming in as it's coming out and paying me. I'm still going to be cash flowing money in. That's the whole mantra of that, why I'm doing and setting my life up that way. I'm playing the long game. I'm not going to be in a position where I'm going to run out of money or inflation is going to bury me, because I've watched family members get buried because they lived solely off their Social Security, and inflation pigeonholed them so quick and fast that they were liquidating stuff to the point when they got rid of the house, then the kids had to get them a grant to get them in a nursing home. So I told my wife, we're not going to wait and retire and move to where we want to be. We're aligning ourselves to go live where we're going to live out our lives early, so we can still travel, enjoy, and do things, and yet still cash flow. I'm not going to run out of cash with my investments. So you can still do things, and it's the power of modern technology. I've always said technology is convenient, but keep it at arm's length. Don't rely on it so much that you dumb yourself down to where you can't stop and look at the big picture of life at a 30,000 foot view and use critical thinking. A lot of people just have blinders on until they smack their heads right into a wall and realize, oh shit, you know, sometimes you got to stop and just kind of look around, look at where you came from, where you're going, make sure you're still on path and you haven't deviated, because that's good discipline. That's perseverance. Just keep going. But you can't give up on yourself either. So, and that's what people have done, is they just given up. They've fallen off the path of what they set out to when they were young. They get a few years out, and they just like, life's too hard. They start throwing a temper tantrum. Government bail me out. Mommy and daddy bail me out. And then they're in their basement. I can't make it in life, and that's bullshit. So both my kids are out on their own. They're struggling. It's a tough world because they're both single. They're not married. Neither one of them have kids. And they're just making a go at it. And both of them have left the state that we lived in. And one has gone to Maryland, to California, and the other one went directly to California. That's where their jobs have taken them. Not that they elected to live there, it's where their jobs took them there. And when you're in that industry, that's where the tech is. If you're going to be in the Midwest of Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and that, well, you're in the Rust Belt of manufacturing and other warehousing and stuff. But they also don't like living in Michigan anymore. I don't. I eventually want to be out of there too, out of the snow and the Rust Belt, and continue my life. I told my wife, when we leave, we're throwing that book away and we're writing a new book, starting with a new chapter 1, and moving forward. And this channel will pivot and change. It just won't be so much me out here in the seat trucking. It'll be, and I'm saying a few years down the road, this channel is going to be viewed either through my home office or us out doing things, business transactions, entrepreneurial stuff that I set this channel up for. I just pivoted into this trucking because it's still sustaining, and I'm still staying well ahead in this industry of inflation. So that's what I'm very happy about, is just staying ahead of the curve. So inflation is not bothering us, but we're also not pissing money on dumbass shit. That this country's marketing scheme, you can't turn on YouTube, you can't turn on your TV and stream any app without some stupid ass commercial being on there. Buy this, buy that, you'll feel great, look great, go here and create memories, and then until you get home, and then you got the dicky drunk hangover of oh shit, I overspent on vacation, I'm broke as a joke, and I'm still trying to pay for Christmas, and here you are, pigeonholed. And then months into the year, you've already high dollar vacation, spring break, whatever it may be, that you're already got credit on last Christmas, and then you're looking ahead at birthdays and Christmas coming up. So that's one thing you got to look at. You got to look at the long game. You got to know how you're planning this year out, quarter to quarter, year in and year out, and then decade to decade. You've got to be looking ahead. My grandparents did it, and they had put money aside in dividend producing assets, and that's what kids aren't doing these days, and they can't. And a lot of these Gen Zs are out here, well, we can't afford housing, housing's too expensive. Well, again, coming back full circle, don't get yourself a liberal arts degree that's going to pay you as much, if not less, than the guy changing the trash can liners at McDonald's. You're going to probably have to align yourself with a job. You know what? If you don't know what you're going to want to do, you're going to have to do something. And it's a job. It's not your dream job, but it's a job. And, I don't want to be out here driving, but yeah, I got debt. And debt is what's keeping me grounded in this truck right now. But when debt's gone, it's going to be a whole different conversation going forward from that point. And, that's what I told the wife. And I love trucking. I love driving. But I'll tell you what, right along when I came out of healthcare, too much government involvement, too much policies, way over saturation of government. This dude is running with a blown tire. So, but yeah, that's the one thing in my outlaw days, in the 90s. In outlaw days for me, and I think I talked about this a couple live streams ago, it was nothing to work 80, 90, 100-hour weeks. Throw the logbook in the back, you ran. I mean, you run to Texas, you run back. You figured it out. And if you're a great driver and you knew how to manipulate the system with the paper logs and all that, or as the kids nowadays, oh, we're running e-logs because you were cooking books. Everybody was cooking books back then. And if you're a Poindexter back in the 90s and 80s that wanted to go right by the rules, Mr. Poindexter, get to his receiver, unloaded, he'd sit and wait because they're like, you know what? We've got hot loads because just-in-time freight was rolling in the 90s. It's like, well, I got to take it, say I got to take a 10-hour break. They're like, really? We got loads sitting there need to move. Well, I'm not going to do it illegal. I did it illegal. You got hours? I've always got hours. They go, well, you let me know when you get too tired. They knew after they got to know me. About the third day out, they're like, you haven't stopped yet. And I would sleep only 5 hours, but we were jacked up and jazzed up and ready to go. That's how we ran back then. That's the way things were. And then the early 2000s, government got involved. Regulations tightened up. The noose came tighter and tighter around the drivers. And just taking away the outlaw driving. But yeah, that's the way things really ran about. And now we're programmed, you know, the truck is tracked with GPS. I'm being tracked by my phone. I'm being tracked with my tablet that runs my e-logs. They already know where I'm at. Before, you had to make a phone call to check in just to let them know where you were. So, that's that. But, yeah, so in a nutshell, we really need to step back and quit going out to eat. I'll tell you, the last time the wife and I went out to eat, it was, I think it was when I took her to Texas last year. And we went out to this nice restaurant, but we still came out $75-$80 for his and her meals. And it was ridiculous. Then when you throw the tip in there, you're basically pushing $100. And, you know, I'm not going to go down to Applebee's or, you know, God knows what are these, Cracker Barrel or any of these other ones, because, man, that's about as shit box janky food as you could get. Piss poor cooked food. So, and then fast food, Jesus, you know, it's like, ugh. It's like you can, you know, I don't know. I guess I've been having so much home-cooked meals anymore. You can taste the chemicals in the foods now. Once you've cleansed your palate and, you know, your gut and all that, it's like, I've been just running so much healthier now. Way more energetic and just more ready to conquer the world. Just the only thing holding me back is I'm sitting out here day in and day out, you know, in this fiberglass box doing my thing. On my free time, my days off, yeah, I'm pounding and going and trying to make other cash flowing opportunities happen. So I didn't see much of anybody chiming in, but hey, if you guys want to stay on, I'm going to turn the camera around and we can just sit here. It's kind of what my wife and I do, is we sit. This loves is entertaining, is all get up to watch drivers. And you want to watch new CDL drivers, foreign drivers, and just watch the mix of everyone running through the truck stop. And or there's plenty of open parking spots here, and watch them trying to back up. It's like, I enjoy it at the campground when you watch people with more money than brains buy an RV. They show up and they try to back into a spot, and they're just like, you're watching, you want to test your marriage, buy an RV or buy a boat. Try to back in a boat launch and or try to back an RV and set it up, and watch your marriage get tested to the limits. If not, you two are swearing and cussing at each other by then. But not much is going on, but if you know, stick around, I'll give you guys a little show here, and maybe we'll hang out for 10-15 minutes and see. Come on, you, turn around. There we go. Get the visor out of the way. So yeah, this is the Loves. It's a nice blue sky day. Been running the AC most of the day down here. See if I can position you guys right there where they're turning. This gets to be, I picked this spot because I stayed in this spot before, And they start backing in, they start racing around this corner. And what had happened one night, it was entertaining. I think it was last fall or late summer. It got dark sooner, and the fuel island was backing up, so they start backing up down here by the blue and white trailer with the red truck. The fuel line starts back up here, and then everyone's racing around this corner, and all of a sudden you just see the whole truck just jump as they're slamming on the brakes, stopping, and it gets backed up. And then someone wants to back into a parking spot while everyone's trying to wait in line to get to the fuel island. Oh yeah, it gets to be a honk horn. The horn is honking. The CB lights up like a Christmas tree on whoever's got one, and they start yelling and cussing. It's more than entertaining. So I don't know. I figured we'd just sit here and if you guys want, chime in on the chat. Say hello. Drop where you're chiming in from. Otherwise, yeah, we're just gonna hang here for a little bit, and let's see. Yeah, we've been on for what, 36 minutes already. Man, I didn't realize I talked that long. I've had a lot to say. So yeah, the industry, it's definitely regulated, as like anything else. The people just said, well, our lives would be better if there was more government involvement. And really, we need less government involvement. And I think that started into the start of the millennials, but probably the younger Gen X generation that just felt that, maybe if the government took control of this, blah, 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 instead of the private sector. But really, for this country to prosper, the government needs less involvement and more things handed back over to the private sector, and let small business handle things, not these corporations, but just allow small businesses to start, grow, and prosper. But our country is tampering that out, and they are just really going on being lobbied, these especially Congress, being lobbied by big corporations that always will go in their favor, any more than these big hedge funds, to say like BlackRock is a big one. So these guys, they can't fail. They're too big to fail, more or less. That the government, the banks, are going to come in and bail them out if they take a loss. Now you look at CalPERS, which is the largest retirement fund in the United States. That is the retirement fund. CalPERS is for Californians that say you retire from the fire department, the police, municipal. That is CalPERS. That's where the pensions go. And if, they have had to get a bump here and there, or a loan, to meet their needs, because they dry up. And to be honest, there's not enough taxpayer base compared to money going out of that retirement fund, so it's going to probably fail. And you're going to see that a lot with these pensions. The only way they're going to keep them propped up is they're going to have to keep borrowing money. Federal Reserve is going to have to fund these hedge funds to support these pension funds. So what's that do? That just expands money and creates more taxation. In the longer run, all we're doing is just kicking the can down the road and creating more inflationary problems. The UK did that 2 years ago. Their pensions are called the gilts, and it was failing, and it was like their pension fund was going off a cliff. So they had to do an emergency meeting. Their Federal Reserve, or the European Bank, EBC, European Bank Commission, they had to go in and do an emergency meeting and basically flip the bill to fund that the gilts to cover their pensions. So like I said, around the world, these pensions that are existing, they're having a hard time sustaining right now. And like BlackRock, Blackstone, Vanguard, what is that, Streets? Fuck, I can't remember. Something Streets. They invested, a lot of that hedge funds invested into commercial buildings. Commercial buildings are empty. They've lost value, but no one will do a write down, because if they do a write down to decrease the value of them, it's going to decrease the value in those hedge funds. And it could be anywhere from 30-40%. That can be detrimental if they're already running a tight margin, on payout compared to what they're, what the fund is making on, interest and dividends every year, or I want to say the money coming in, whether it's their dividends or what they're making off interest. But they're losing money with the payouts to these pensioners. So therefore, when price discovery hits this country in residential, let alone the commercial buildings, it is going to be, it's basically just going to be falling out of the sky and right to the ground, terminal velocity. So that's what they're doing right now. They're printing money and propping everything up. They've been doing it through the last administration, and they're definitely doing it right now. So like I said, at some point we as a country need to lower our standards, because when price discovery ever happens, you can't print money to infinity without some consequences at some point in time. And when that happens, things are going to crash, and they're really going to feel it, especially if these hedge funds, like I said, once that price discovery hits and the write downs happen, then there's going to be hell to be paid. So we're waiting. I'm waiting, but I don't put, I've got very little, if any at all, into the stock market. I just use that for swing trading, but my long game is basically park my capital in places where I can put it in and take it out. That's going to be pretty much very little to no taxes. And there's ways of doing it. You just got to understand and learn it. So, but yeah. Anyhow, it's been kind of uneventful here. I've been just watching the timer there. So right now we've been going about 6 minutes. I saw someone else jumped in there. Say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're from. That'd be, really awesome. So that way we know. We had someone, my moderator's in there, Miss Laura. And who was in there last time? Was it someone from, where the hell were they from? Spain, or, good God, where were they from? I can't recall, but they were from some far off country, and they were hanging out with us one night. So anyhow, throat's getting dry too. But I would, about time I hang up this live stream, this parking lot's probably going to be a full-blown circus. It's going to be like watching a bunch of, I want to say, animals running around in here. So, and I've been noticing this year, the one thing I have noticed, if you were to ask me a trucking question, is I'm seeing less trucks on the road, and I'm seeing less, I want to say, look what time it is, 7:17, and there's still a third of the truck stop has parking, even for a Sunday night, because a lot of guys leave on Sunday, because if they got to go cross country, especially with your reefer guys, because my friend Tommy there from Trucking Unfiltered, he'll load out of Nogales or Phoenix, and he'll come all the way up into PA, New York at the furthest point. But you got to leave early enough, because remember, produce in those refrigerated trailers has an expiration date. So from the time, and for him, he gets it at a cross dock in Nogales, and it's coming from manufacturing or a farm in Mexico somewhere, on their trailer, comes across the border, hits the cross dock. They pull it off that trailer, across, go across the dock, put it in his trailer. He takes off and brings it across the U.S. So that's cross docking, and he'll, then he's got to haul the mail across the country to get it to where it's got to be, because then it's got to be unloaded, distributed out. And whether it's got to go to grocery stores. When I hauled reefer, a lot of it went to restaurants and school districts. I pulled into a lot of school. Like, you'd go to the main administration building, and you'd back up to their loading dock, because they would take everything in bulk, and then that administration for that county would distribute the food off my trailer. Then all that food would get distributed out to all the various schools in that county. So the school systems like that, your restaurants, your fast foods, stuff like that, grocery stores. So, and stuff's got to get on the shelves. It's got to get out there, because it has an expiration date. So that's why the big push. It's too stressful for me running reefer. Not only appointment times, it could be anything. It could be Christmas Day, midnight, on a Saturday night and a Sunday morning, and I'm delivering. And my wife was my witness on that, and I was like, geez, Pete, you're delivering Christmas Day, Christmas night, right through the week. Because, running the reefer, running produce, it does not know Saturdays and Sundays. It doesn't know Christmas and New Year's. It doesn't know the holidays. It just knows that the food's got to get out there and get to its destination so it can get into the hands of the people. So I've sat and had the reefer clunk out on me while I'm sleeping. You want to wake up and have your heart start racing out of a dead sleep, and then you're running back there trying to figure out why it shut off when it's on a continuous run. And that'll light you up. So yeah, because when it would switch over from refrigerated to defrost, the engine couldn't catch itself, because it does a RPM change, and it just caught it to clunk out. But the computer will do a retest and a restart. Usually only takes 3 minutes, and it's back up and going. I sat and watched the computer screen on it. I never had a problem, just that one time. And that was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I remember that. I sat out there. It took me a while to fall back asleep, because I sat in the sleeper kind of listening for it, like, is this going to happen again? But yeah, I've come out of Omaha, Nebraska with beef, and you're talking 7 figures of food with beef coming out of Omaha. Yeah, the last thing you want, they say, when you pull in and get loaded, your reefer's got to be full. It's got to be set at a certain temp, and the inside temp has got to be at that point before you open your doors, the back, to go in the dock. And your hours have to be full. You cannot be like, oh shit, I've got just enough hours to get there. They don't want that. You better have a full set of hours in case you got delayed or anything, because that beef has got to get there. So they don't want no excuses on the logs or the fuel or the condition of the reefer, anything like that. So there's a lot of that criteria, because when the broker would call me, they're just like, they'd go through the checklist and make sure I qualified to go under a load. So, there's all that jazz. Because that was always my backhauls. My backhauls were the pain in the ass. The company, that was their truck and their product going out. But on the way back, you're all in Texas. Now you got to, you're not going to deadhead all the way back to Michigan. So you would get a backhaul somewhere. And it could be, to me, I was like, man, make it not produce. So sometimes you go pick up some kind of dry good. You wouldn't have to run the reefer. My wife would be like, you're going to be sleeping good for a couple nights. I said, yeah, I don't have to run the reefer, so I'm good. But I enjoyed that for a point. But would I ever go back to it? Absolutely not. Not in a fucking heartbeat would I do any kind of refrigerated hauling again. If I did anything, it'd be step deck and or RGN, but step deck first. That's the money maker. That's what's really moving the most in volume. And rate per mile is step deck. That's where the money's being made right now. Dry van is tanking like a son of a bitch. I think they're down this week. I watch Miranda at Trucking Made Successful, and she does a weekly roundup. And she did, I think, dry van was running about $1.62 or $1.65 a mile on average across the country, and reefer wasn't too much more. I think it was $1.80 something. But step deck and flatbed was running around $2.55. So big difference. But yeah, you got to do the tarping, you got to do the strapping down of the load, stuff like that. But the money's there. The step deck just gives you the benefit of you can haul equipment, whether it's construction equipment, agricultural, or industrial, but you got that lower step on there, so if it's a little tall, you can still get it on there. It makes you more versatile, and you can always convert with the legs on there. You can always convert the whole building materials and steel too. So you guys are rolling in for y'all that are in here. We're just kind of watching. I was thinking I was going to be entertained with trucks, and earlier it was. But being this late at night, I'm surprised more trucks haven't flooded in here. But maybe some of these guys got a late start. I don't know. There's one guy. Slow it down. Slow it down. He's running an old Knight refrigerated trailer. Yeah, I definitely know. Like, I can look at the back or sides of a truck before I can even read it, and I'll be like, oh, that's Swift. Oh, that's so and so. It's just like you see that in the mega carriers. I wouldn't work for them. Snyder, JB Hunt, Swift. God, who else is out there? There's a lot of them. I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. I would not drive for them whatsoever. Stick with the smaller companies. They're going to take better care of you. You're more of a name than a number. And like I said, I would go step deck, but I'll tell you what, I won't drive for TMC. I follow a guy at TMC, and every month they got to check your truck. TMC checks their truck. Each driver, when they come into one of their terminals, they got to get their truck checked off for what they call detailing, and it's got to be clean on the inside and out. And if it's clean, I think they get $100 added for keeping the truck clean, like I don't know if it's a monthly or quarterly bonus, but yeah, they don't get that bonus, and they'll get dinged, against their company policies and that if they don't keep the truck at a certain level standard. What else? And their trucks. Jesus, one guy went through in like 15 months. He went through 3 trucks. They're just breaking down all the time and shit. And so they're like, man, if that truck's going to need to be in for a couple days or something, they're like, we're going to find you another truck, move out of that one, move into this one. Yeah, it's crazy. But they're on a percentage. TMC pays, they start you out around 24-25% of the load. So if the load pays let's keep the math simple. Say the load pays $1,000. They're going to pay you 24% of that 1,000, so what, $240. But once you get your time in, and I want to say it's like 3 to 5 years, then you move up. And as long as you showing you're a good employee and all this and that, you're keeping your truck clean and you're doing everything by the company policy, their high end is 34%. So $340 for every $1,000. So if that load pays to TMC $3,000, you're getting just under $1,000 to haul that load. So it's a give and take. So it just depends on and a lot of these guys at TMC, they'll stay out 2 to 4 weeks because you got to stay out long enough to make the money. If you're a guy that needs to get home every weekend, he goes, you're not going to make the money, and then you're going to be the guy sitting there complaining. But if you're going to make the money, and even a lot of the lease operators, lease purchase people, they will. They said at Hirschbog and at Prime, They said, hey, if you're going to do a lease purchase and run, you've got to be out here for at least a month. You've got to run at least a month to make money to cover your bills, then take 2-3 days off, and then you got to come back out a month. So that's all part of the game. But if you're an owner-operator, it's the same thing. Charlie Trucker said when he bought Old Blue there, his 2004 Blue Peterbilt, that truck brand new off the dealer lot was $115,000 in 2004. And then I talked to a guy that's running a similar truck that was pulling for Ben a couple months ago, and he said he went to spec a truck 2 years ago, or a year ago, last year. Yeah, it was a year ago this past January. He said to spec the same Peterbilt that he has, and similar to what Charlie Trucker has. He said right now it'd be $267,000. So the price of the trucks from 2004 to now has more than doubled in the cost. So now you're sitting on a 5-year note on a 267 or even a 300 if you custom order it. $300,000 truck on a 5-year note, do the monthly payment. Your monthly payments, I want to say these guys were saying around, on the high end, $6,000 a month. So you're talking $5,500, $6,000 a month on a truck payment, and you got to run. No time to be home, drinking toddies and smoking stogies. You're gonna have to do that out on the road, but you got to keep the wheels turning. So that's the and the low rates, the low paying rates out here. You know, it's keeping these guys out longer too. That's the other thing. Talking with other guys out here on the road is they're having to stay out. Some the guy I talked to from Bennett, he was staying out 4 to 5 months at a time, then going home for about four days to a week. What's her name? Nia over there, Roadrunner Nia on her channel. She just got a new T680, and I want to say that was probably right around $200,000. And she just started hauling this month in April, 1st of April. She started hauling her first load. She left Prime, turned in her lease purchase truck there, and went out to Lone Mountain and got a loan in a truck through them. And she signed on with Landstar. Landstar set her up with all of her US DOT numbers, MCs and all that, her authority, all through them. And she said here in April, she goes, I'm taking off. She's got the truck packed. It took her nearly a month to get the truck set up, because she had to get she got the tri-pack. She got the green APU on there. She got her auxiliary power unit. She's living in that truck. So she goes, I'm going to be gone till November. She goes, I don't plan on going back home to Georgia and shutting down until probably Thanksgiving is the way she was talking. So probably when the holidays roll up here at the end of the year. So yeah, you got to really consider your lifestyle of being out here. Whether you're running like me, these guys, they're regional. So I'm only out 4, 5, 6 days. Other companies, when I ran reefer, I'd go out 2, 3 months or more. Even when I ran some dry van, I would stay out for 3 months. You'd make more money. But if you're just going to park the truck and then run home and dilly-dally around for 2 or 3 days and go back out, a lot of these guys say, well, I made $75,000 a year. So, are you fucking kidding? I stay out 3 months at a time, come home 2 days and go back out for 2, 3 months. Dude, I was banging 6 figures. But yeah, I'm not home. So yeah, that's the trade-off. You're going to have trade-offs in most of these industries, unless you're going to go to school to be a doctor or some high-end engineer. There's a lot of guys like that guy running for Bennett. He's doing $300,000+ a year, but it's his own truck, his own step deck, and his truck was paid off. So other than the step deck, he had about 2 years left on the step deck. But he was making bank, but he don't have a wife and kids at home. He can stay out. He can travel around. He can set where he wants to be in the wintertime. Instead of being up in the snow belt, he can kind of hover around down in the warm states during the winter to skate through the snow and ice and the salt. So, I hear what these guys are doing, the ones that are staying out here, but they're getting farther and fewer between. A lot of them are not. It used to be a lot of guys lived in the trucks. They bought a truck, they went out, and that was their home. But it's getting to be less and less like that. Old school trucking, the way it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it's not like that anymore. And, so I don't mind being out here, but all I know is the threshold for me is debt. When that debt is gone, I'm going to be looking around. I'll be looking at my wife saying, we need to have a different conversation right now because we don't have any debt and I don't need to run this hard. So, and there's nothing that we need to go out and purchase to say, oh, look, I'm debt free. Let's go buy more shit that we don't need. So that's the whole mantra, is just, tampering down and getting the debt down to a certain threshold to where I can say, you know what, I don't need to run this hard. So we're getting there. We're almost there. So I see I've hit an hour. That's long enough. Nothing's happening here. Should have happened already if there was going to be an entertainment. I appreciate y'all being in here and chiming in. If you could, please, by all means, get you turned around here. If y'all could, please like, comment, subscribe, and helps get the algorithm juiced up, pushing this out to be recommended to other people. And try to get another one out this week. I don't know how much running I'm going to do. My trailer's loaded, but I don't have a lot of territory to cover because there's a lot going to each stop. So I am going to see, try to pop either tomorrow or the night after another live stream and just kind of see where I'm at and hang out with you guys. And if you got any questions coming up, put them in the comments after this live stream. So until next time, stay safe, continue educating yourself. Knowledge is learned, not taught, and we will see you all in the next video.